But let's talk about exams. Medical board exam.
Hello viewers, welcome back to the Medical Board Exam Experience with Dr. Kwafo. Today we are continuing a discussion with Dr. Dennis Adjepong. In a previous interview, he shared with us his experience on how to get research article publications in your name. He also shared with us his experience on how he studied for the USMLE Step 1 exams. Today, he's going to continue the discussion by talking about his experience on how he studied for the USMLE Step 2 CK. Let us join Dr. Adjepong in our discussion. Thank you. When you finish the Step 1, how long did it take you to prepare for the CK?
Oh, I continued the following week because I wasn't, some people feel like I have to rest. I wasn't in that mode. You have 4,000. It depends on your own enthusiasm. I have some strong enthusiasm that keeps me going. It's like sometimes I can study 39 days. When I was preparing myself, 39 days, 6 hours each day, and I hadn't taken a break. And I didn't know how I was doing it. And I didn't get fatigued. None of them came my way. I just felt like if I go there in 6 hours, every 45 minutes study time, 15 minutes break. 45 minutes, 15 minutes break. But the 15 minutes, leave the room and walk outside and get fresh and come back.
Yeah.
The day you don't feel like it, don't force it.
So what resources did you use for the CK?
The CK, most of the boss, conversation. He's the one that comes closer to the kind of questions I saw. Let me put it that way. He came closer to it, but you read the question, you can tell the diagnosis of the history of the patient. That one most of them will give, so it make you feel like you don't have the question. But that's not what you tested on. That was the first paragraph. The second paragraph will tell you the patient passed out or the patient vomited. What is the best next step? As at that time, you feel God and beyond brought you closer because
Master the boss, right?
Sorry, master the boss what you call, but that's not what the answer is. Then you have to go to the answer question and say, oh, he vomited. So he vomited what? Then maybe he came out of chemotherapy, so you want to stop the nausea and vomiting, so you have to use anti-emetic drug. Okay, and you see one day and you pick the answer. So okay, he vomited when he's not supposed to, so that is okay. You see that?
Yeah.
So everybody comes and it's like master of the boss. But the question is that it's not enough. Most of the body is okay, but it's not enough. Believe me.
What do you recommend?
There's no book that does a good job. Believe me, there are some books. I had this book, okay, but that wasn't it. When I left the town, I came and looked at this book. That isn't it. But this will help you in the hospital because that's the disease that will come to you. But that exam is emergency medicine. And even with the emergency medicine, it is not all about he took DDT or he took any drug that will kill him. Some of them is somebody have chest palpitation. What's the best next step? You see, so you sometimes read the question and it is very vague. Some have chest palpitations. It can be a thyroid problem because thyroid hormone determines the rhythm of the heart. It can be heart attack. And at the time, they are also tricky. They put the age 30, 40. It's very old for you to say you have a heart attack. Sometimes there's no lab. The very lengthy questions have no labs. It's a clinical diagnosis. This is the closest book I will tell you to do or clinical diagnosis. Because on the step exam, some of the questions don't have lab results. Just using the symptoms to predict the disease. This book will help you. I did half of this book for the organ system that I was weak. It helped, but that's not even all. You know, some diseases, it comes with nausea, vomiting, and this, and therefore you think it is a diagnosis. Or sometimes it's not even a diagnosis, but the most likely diagnosis is that, and it's okay.
Okay. So what about the question bank? Which question bank will you recommend?
The UWorld is good, but that was not what the test was about. I will tell you, the UWorld is what everybody used. That's what if you don't use UWorld, I'm misleading you, but on the test, UWorld is helping partially.
Okay.
If you can go to the hospital and work in internal medicine field, that will help you do well. Because also internal medicine field, Ambulance will bring patients there. You see what the doctors are doing.
Yeah.
That will help you. But this is the time that you don't have access to that.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, this book have an emergency medicine book version of it. Get that and add it to this. Then do your step 2 secret. You can do family medicine. You can. This is 500 questions, so you can't do all. But if you are starting early, do the most you can. At least finish this one and the internal medicine one. Do that, because I'm the kind of student that if you give me laboratory work, I'll get a diagnosis right.
Okay.
But if you don't give me the laboratory work and I go with sentence, sometimes I don't get it well.
Okay. Did you do NBMEs?
Huh?
Did you do NBMEs?
I didn't do NBMEs for step 2. When you finish step 1 and your scores are high, you won't worry about the NBMEs for step 2. You won't worry, because the 4,500 questions in step 1 and step 2, I finished it once, and I did my weaknesses too. Then I started doing pictures. There was not much pictures on step 2 like step 1.
Okay.
Now, this is what somebody told me, and if the person can be wrong, you know how step 1 you go in there, you get questions about endocrinology, GI, cardio, and you don't get other organ system questions like kidney and other things.
Yeah.
Now, if that happens to you, it means the organ questions, the organ system that didn't appear in step 1 will be on step 2 for you.
Oh, okay.
That was true. Somebody said that. I thought the person was like playing the game, mental game, but it was true. Like my step 1 question, I never had question about bone. I never had question about bone pathology. I never had question about urinary. I never had question about, but then the person told me that I went to step 2, and my question was, most of them were there like that. You see what I mean?
Oh, okay.
That's so that they make sure you know all the
everything.
That one is true. So if you look at your step 1 questions, area that came, you can predict what kind of person you're going to have for step. It's a lot of work, but start early. But if you don't have money and you have to, you're the breadwinner of your house,
that makes the whole thing. Yeah. So what advice do you have for people preparing for the CK?
Have you realized that US students score high on step 2, but not step 1?
Mm-hmm.
Because of their rotations, because they know what they gave for the patient to live. So now choose it on the exams. What is the problem?
Oh, okay.
Whereas IMGs don't have that decision to make.
So after the CK, you started the OET preparation?
No, I wrote OET for step 2.
Oh, really?
I started step 2, but I put step 2 down, and I did OET because if you have the language, yes, you do that.
So what did you use for the OET? Thank you for watching. Please do check out about the next part of this video where we talk about how we studied for the OET exams.